48-hour art check, round 147. Your shocked face is great.
I know, that's a big number.
Welcome, Scott. How's it going?
Good. We're live?
We are live.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, that's it. We're live. So, Josh couldn't make it today, but as most Mondays, Scott's with us. So, we got Victor in the chats. How's it going, man?
Hey, Victor.
So, yeah, let's.
I'm actually looking at the chat this time. Usually, I don't get the link right away. So so now I can see it. So cool.
Awesome.
Sorry.
That's great. Let's jump in. So what have you gotten? What have you gotten done in the last 48 hours?
Let's see. Last 48 hours. So I am still unpacking. This is Sunday. We're talking about still unpacking from the comic convention I did. And I was last weekend. Was the previous weekend? Was that Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah.
Or how many weekends ago is that? Okay. So stuff. I'm still unpacking everything from that. I had this driver's test I had to take that took up a lot of my day because I need to get that out of the way because I got a speeding ticket. So in order to not make my insurance go up, I had to take that. So that was kind of in the way. But I did work. I got a freelance project that I'm working on, a logo design, which actually I think I'm going to recruit Cory to do some animation work on it. Yeah. I did VO work and edited the video that I posted today that kind of showed my process of the 100 days of making comics cover. I did a Kickstarter, I think what is my final Kickstarter update. I did a little product shoot. You can see some of the products, some of those I had for the convention. So I got some new products. They're not in my store yet, but I'm working at that. So that was all Sunday. And then today, more freelance stuff. I had some concept sketches to submit to a client. And I went and saw Godzilla. So I saw that, kind of took a break, went and saw that. Got back, did some more freelance, and I've been editing some of the photos that you kind of see there that I did in the photo shoot. So the product photos. So that's what I did in the last 48 hours.
Cool. What'd you think of Godzilla?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, some of the character motivations were kind of bizarre and weird, but I went for the monsters and I got what I went for. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I thought it was better than what I was expecting. So, cool. But I guess I could see how some people might not like it. I could see some people might even like it more than me, but yeah, it was pretty cool. I was happy and impressed and everything. So
yeah, I saw it the other night with my wife.
Oh, you did? What do you think?
I liked it. I liked it too. I think if you're going for character-driven, story-driven movie, it might be disappointing. But if you're going for I think the reason I see Pacific Rim movies is probably the same reason why I saw this movie, and I like all three of those movies. But I don't necessarily think the stories are great. But at the same time, they tried to give people motivation and stuff, and it was cool. I thought it was all right. So
yeah, I started watching Pacific Rim 2, and then I just kind of never got back to it. But I don't know if it's still there. It was on HBO. I don't know if it's still on there anymore. But yeah, you have to go back and try to finish watching that.
It's fun. It's a little less campy than the first one, I think, and so I liked that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
On what?
We got people in the chat begging for no spoilers.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't spoil stuff for people. So
yeah, neither do I. But I mean, if you didn't know that there were, oh jeez, Alexa, stop. Somehow she thought I was asking her to.
Oh, because when you said, well, no, I don't know. No, Victor doesn't sound like Alexa. I don't know how that works.
Anyway, that's always fun. I should probably turn her off when I go live. But anyway, yeah. If you didn't know there was big giant monsters in there, that would be a spoiler. But but there are. So there's that. So I've been playing with some animation. That's what I've been doing lately.
Sweet.
And so I've actually gotten not that I ever get like huge responses from anything, but I got much better responses from this than I normally would, and on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. So I've been playing with
anything with movement. I think helps out on Instagram.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't. I already had these illustrated, and so it wasn't like a ton of work to, it was just like an hour, I think, on each one, just to kind of play with it and mess around with some experimental stuff. So that was kind of fun, and then I've been working on some other things, which I'll talk about during plans. But there's been some of that stuff that I've been doing, but just basically kind of clean up. I made some promotional videos that people in the anthology for the Kickstarter can use. I haven't seen anybody use them yet. That doesn't mean that they haven't, but I haven't seen anybody. But it's just little 60-second segments where you can kind of pop your own kind of thing in there and have it match the video of the Kickstarter campaign. So there's some of that. And then, so I've just been building little assets and doing little animations and things, basically trying to get ready for some stuff. And then last time I talked about how I was going to try to figure out what I wanted to animate, and I realized that I had actually spent quite a bit of time doing an animatic for this character, and so I finished the illustration, which doesn't look like much right now because I'm illustrating it for animation. So like most of those bones are on their own separate layer and everything, so that I can move them independently of each other. So it takes forever, but it should be a fun animation. So yeah. So how about challenges?
So challenges, nothing major. Just like I said, I'm still trying to unpack everything and get my house in order after the convention. That driver's test took up a lot of time on my weekend on Sunday in particular. But I got that done and out of the way, so that's done. And just just trying to get all this other stuff out of the way, and then I think some time's going to open up because I don't have, like before it was like I had the Kickstarter, I had to get that done, and then before first it was like ever since Creative South, it was Creative South, and then right after that I had to get back to the Kickstarter, and then right after that the convention. Now I don't have anything like that, so I'm hoping to get back to all the stuff that I've been kind of putting aside. So yeah.
Getting back in the groove after so much travel and so many different things. I imagine that's difficult.
Yeah.
For me, basic work stuff. My wife got the lead in a play that is about an hour and 20 minutes drive away from us. So she's driving, like we kind of pass each other as I get home. She takes off. So I'm kind of single parenting in the evenings. So normal stuff. Just a little bit more time consuming than average, but nothing. I'm trying to think if there's anything. No major events or anything that I can think of that really have been challenging. Just trying to stick with it. So. How about plans?
So I want to finish getting like my new products and everything up on my website, and then I need to send out a newsletter. I didn't get one out last month. I mean, I try to get one out every month, but just with everything going, I mean, I barely could even do any kind of promotion for the convention and everything. Usually I'll put like a new Facebook banner or whatever the thing is, and profile pic on Twitter and all that stuff, and I just didn't have time. I ran out of time with all the other stuff, but so I didn't get to really put out a newsletter. But so early this month I'm going to put a newsletter and cover basically everything from the Kickstarter to the new products and all that other cool stuff. So that's the first thing, and then if I can get all that done, hopefully get back to doing digital products, the comic. Basically, if you're familiar with the Comic Maker Starter Kit, I'm going to do a Comic Maker Pro Kit. So I got to get back to working on that and get back to working on my website. So
cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I've got this guy, and so my plan is to rig and animate him. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to see the fish, and then you'll see the fish's mouth open, and this like fish skin will like peel back to reveal the skeleton, and then the skeleton's mouth will open, and that will peel back to reveal the wasp, and then the wasp will splat against something, and then the drips of that splat will turn into my kind of signature. So I'm looking at doing like a little bit of a kind of like an end, like an outro animation. I've got like an intro animation, so this will kind of be just like a quick stinger at the end. So just kind of messing around with some different stuff. I wanted to learn like masks and things, and so this is kind of pushing me to animate masks a little bit more. And I think I'm going to try to do just, I don't know, once a week's probably a little much, but as often as I can do little animations. I think that might be my new focus on Instagram, is to just go through my catalog of stuff, and if there's anything that would be fun to make it move, and just repost it, kind of moving.
You may be getting your wish in the form of some client work doing the same thing too. So
cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm excited. I've done a little bit of paid work animating, and it's fun. I like it. So yeah, cool. So Victor says that's like something out of Liquid TV, and that's a huge compliment. I'm a big fan of Liquid TV. I wanted to go back and like go watch all those episodes, but like when I was a teenager, that was on the air, and huge influence. Yeah.
I wonder where you can find those. I mean,
they have MTV has
streaming.
Them. Yeah, MTV has them on their site.
Oh, do they? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, like all the Liquid Television episodes, I think are available on. Maybe it's not MTV's site, but I know they're listed, and I watched a couple episodes. Some of them are way weirder than I remember. But
have you seen what I think it's called? Is it called Life, Death, and Robots or something like that? Or it's on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, but
yeah,
it's an anthology about like a sci-fi animated anthology. It's pretty good.
Yeah, Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, Love, Death, and Robots. Yeah,
there's some kind of rough stuff in there, which I usually try.
Yeah, it is definitely very, and it almost a little critique of it. It almost like they had a mandate where they had to put so much sex and violence in each one just to keep it all the same. And some of the stories, were perfect. It made sense, but some of it just like they were crowbarring some of that stuff in just because, So I don't know if that's the case, but I got that impression from it. But.
Yeah, there were some of the episodes that were totally clean, like the yogurt one. That was a good one. Like that. But yeah, I love experimental animation. I mean, like back to the Animatrix, where when the Matrix trilogy was huge, they hired, I think, like 9 like animated animation companies or directors or something, and they did like they're just like play in the world of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
I think so. I know I've got like, it must have, I wonder if it was back when I went to, was that in the 90s? I can't remember when they did that. But
I'll look it up. I'm not sure.
But because I remember, I think the last time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, I got like this little really neat postcard set that they were using to promote that, the Animatrix or whatever. Yeah. So I still have that somewhere. It's a nice little, postcard set.
2003 is when that came out.
Okay, I don't remember. That sounds late. I don't think I went to Comic-Con then, so I don't know where I got that. But somewhere I got a little promo for that.
Yeah,
and I think I did watch it.
Yeah,
but I'm not like a huge Matrix fan for whatever reason. That just wasn't one of those movies that really resonated with me personally. I know a lot of people love it, but
yeah, I liked it. I think in a lot of ways the cartoons were way better than the movies, but it's probably just because I'm into that type of thing.
Yeah, I like that, man.
Yeah. And then Victor's saying check out Robot Carnival on Amazon Prime. It's an old anime anthology. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down because I do have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, should we jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna wander around a bit on today's episode, but mainly I'm interested in what Scott's experience is recently because I've done one convention. Well, let me introduce it. So today's topic is, are conventions over? And the reason I'm asking that question is because Scott Circlin, who we have on as guest today, recently posted a video about how I believe you're done with comic book conventions for the time being, or for a while, or something along those lines. At least that was the.
Yeah, more or less. As far as the kind of conventions I've been going to, I want to look into some other kinds, and maybe not even necessarily comic conventions, but I think the traditional big pop culture event conventions, I just don't see that as an option for me monetarily. At least doing what I'm doing now. I mean, you can always change things around and kind of roll with the punches, and there are certain things I'm sure I could do, but whether that's worth my time to do that as opposed to focusing on other things that I think can bring me in more money. And I want to say real quick off the bat, because when I posted that video, I think some people got the wrong impression, because I had a lot of people like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," but it wasn't really like that. It was just kind of just one of those moments where you're like, okay, this is this isn't really, it doesn't make sense for me to do this anymore. Not because I didn't like lose my shirt, so to say,
Sure.
but it's just I've noticed a decline, and for me, taking into consideration all the time that I've been spending, even before I'm there, setting these things up, and even now getting back, like I mentioned, I still got to put all this stuff away, and I just think my time is more valuable. There's other things that I can do and want to do rather than conventions, and there's some things I really like about conventions. I like the interaction. I like getting out there and talking to people, and I'll miss that part of it, but still there's other ways to do that, so it's not like, don't feel sorry for me. It's just a choice on, it's how do you value your time? And I just kind of came to this realization that my time is more valuable spending it somewhere else. And there's definitely other opportunities for me, so it's not like oh, woe was me type of thing.
Yeah, and I didn't get that from the video, and I don't know if it's because I know you, or because I was looking at it probably similar to the way you were, which is kind of like from a business standpoint. Because to me, it just, I mean, in every situation in a business, like, there's going to be a time where you've got to decide to fish or cut bait, right? And so, like, that's a phrase that I really like. I'm not a huge fisherman, but like, when you're looking at business investments, you mainly have two things to invest. You've got manpower or time, right? And then you've got money. And if either one of those are out of balance in a way where you're not getting a return, then you have to make a decision on, like, okay, is this a situation where if I push harder on it, if I throw more money at it, or if I spend more time on it, where it's going to yield a return that makes it worth it? Or is it time to just kind of cut that line and drop a hook somewhere else? I think that's a normal, it might not be a normal thing for a lot of artists to think about, but I think it is a normal thing for a lot of businessmen. It's pretty common to just be like, okay, we've tapped this market, do we adjust? Do we change, like you said? Or do we move to another one of these, put more resources in one of these other pools, that we've been getting more fish out of. And for me, it was kind of an interesting video, because you and I are in a similar boat where we both have a little bit of fan art. We both do a little bit of that, but our main focus in our art is not like popular IPs of other companies, right? The main focus is going to be our own brand, our own thing, kind of our own style of doing things, and we're in different markets, but both of us are kind of outside of the Marvel, DC, Disney kind of space. And I went when I did Salt Lake Comic Con. Now, granted, the reason I was super interested in talking to you about this is because I've done one show. I've been to several shows, right? But I've only tabled at one, and I didn't lose my shirt either, but I left 400 in the hole, and so a lot of that was because it was my first show, and I had to buy like booth supplies and signage and stuff, like cost that won't repeat the next time I table. But I did kind of leave thinking, even if I didn't have those, I would have only made a couple $100, after like, printing costs and stuff like that. Is that worth like 3 days, and doing all this stuff and it wasn't, again, I agree with you. For me, it wasn't like I was like, oh, woe is me. Like nobody likes my stuff. It was just like, I know my stuff is good and I know that it belongs somewhere, but I don't know that it belongs there. Like there's just, people would walk up and they'd be like, oh, you can kind of see in their eyes, they're like looking for a character. Then they just keep walking. And the ones that stopped were awesome and it was fun to talk to everybody. But I mean, most people, they're kind of scanning for, Wonder Woman, and Deadpool and something, and then they don't see it and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Because the one that got the most in my booth, the one that got the most points and people tugging on people's shoulders and having was my Hutt Slayer, which is Princess Leia killing Jabba the Hutt. So 2 recognizable characters in a big franchise, and it kind of drew people in sometimes. But I sold out of that one on the first day, and then I didn't move a ton of other stuff. And so I'm thinking like, with my book and some of the things that I'm planning on putting out in the next couple of years, I don't know that any of that really belongs in like I don't even want to call them comic conventions anymore, because like you call them kind of pop culture conventions.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty accurate idea of what they are. So I don't know if like a small press expo, or like you and I went to Creative South and everything that I saw there, I could see both of our booths like really fitting into that vendor hall. So I wonder if just like the pop culture conventions are just really not where like an indie artist belongs anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. Like, and I don't bring any fan art to shows. I mean, I do have sites that I don't even promote that I have some like mashups or like parodies and things on some of the t-shirt sites that they're just up there from before and they bring in some money and stuff, but I don't really promote them or anything. And really the only other fan art I do are original sketches, but I don't really bring those. So basically my stuff is all original. And, I sat across from a guy who's super cool guy, but he was just, everything was fan art. And, everyone at the show it seemed like wasn't doing very well. The attendance was way down. Everyone I talked to, and if you watch my videos, I did go out and I talked to some other people. So it wasn't just me. And I don't know if it's just this convention in particular, or if that's, I've heard this same sentiment kind of echo throughout a lot of different people. But attendance was down, but I see the people that are doing fan art, they're still selling that stuff because like you said, people know it and everything. And it's like, and part of me, for me, it's not for me. Like somebody came up to my table and they saw I had some mechs and things and they want to know if I had Iron Giant. And I said, no, I don't really do fan art. I said, I love Iron Giant. I said, I was one of the few people that was there opening weekend before, because it wasn't a success. I mean, it bombed at the box office, but I was there. I've still got the comic book. When I went and saw it, they gave me the free comic. So I love Iron Giant. I've got the toy, all that stuff. But I don't really sell fan art. So I don't want people to buy from me because it's some character that somebody else created. I want people to be interested in what I do, and that's a hard sell. I mean, I definitely, because I did a video a while back, and the one thing I'm going to kind of switch over a little bit, but the one thing I really did like about this show, it was kind of cool because there were a lot of people that knew me from YouTube, and especially a lot of the vendors, because I have those videos out there talking about how to table at cons and things, and a lot of the people were like, they're more than at least 3 people told me, you're the reason why I'm here. You're the one that kind of helped me and all that stuff. So it's kind of ironic that now I'm the one saying, yeah, this isn't working for me. But I did a video and it was kind of, it was me kind of being ironic. It was like, these are the things you need to do if you want to be successful at cons. And it were all the things that I don't do, sell fan art, do all these different things. And if you took all that advice and took it took it literally and did all those things, you would probably be very successful. I think a lot of people did. And I don't know if that's because they didn't get that it was me being cheeky, or if it was, or they just said, yeah, well, I just want to make money. So if you just want to make money, do all that stuff. But for me, I'm in it for something else. But anyway, but the people that, like you said, you had some people that came to your booth and kind of do get what you're doing, and I do get that,
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking maybe moving more towards like things like makers fairs and things like you mentioned the design conferences. I just signed up for Phoenix Design Week, which I've done once before. And I know they had a small vendor area. I'm going to see if I can get in there. I definitely want to try to get into Creative South, as long as I can figure out a way where I can still participate in some of the other stuff, because I don't want to really sacrifice that. But I think those people are really they're more into like, oh, this is a cool design. It's not like, where's Captain America, where's Black Panther, where's Harley Quinn, whatever their favorite character is. And again, I love all those guys. I love movies. I mean, I've got in this room over here, I've got a mural of like all my favorite Marvel and DC characters facing off. I love that stuff. I just don't, whether it's for me, I don't feel right selling it, or I want people to buy, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee created Spider-Man,
Yeah.
That's their creation. I want to have my own creation, and I want people to be into that. And that's a long shot, but that's kind of what I want.
Yeah. And I also, and I think you agree with this, but I also don't have a problem with artists that are into doing fan art. Like, it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just as equally, I don't think there's anything wrong with, the attitude of wanting people, like, I think if you're doing fan art inauthentically, meaning I think if you're doing it, as a cash grab, it's kind of weird, right? But I mean, if that's really honestly what you feel like you want to spend your time doing, and you're way into that, like, it's great. And those shows are probably still going to be good for you. Squatchy in the chat brought something up. He said the exposure is good, even to those. The exposure is good even to those few who take notice. And I agree. Like, when I was at that show, I had about 90 something people join my mailing list, and I don't have a huge mailing list, and so that's pretty awesome. And it was really good. And I had some great conversations one-on-one. As a businessman, right? As an artist, I think that's, invaluable. And I look at that and I say, hey, this is wonderful. I love making those connections. And anybody who gets excited about anything that I made, I mean, it just makes my day. As a businessman, I have to look at the cost, right? And when I was in marketing, you have cost per impression and you've got cost per conversion. Right. And this is a really like numerical way to look at things. This isn't the way that I view relationships that I make with people through my art, but it is how I have to view the way that I spend my money in my business that involves my art. And so if I look at cost per conversion, right. And I count, I don't know, if a conversion, one metric would be, like somebody joining my mailing list, or another metric might be somebody buying, something, or following me, on a social media channel or something like that. Right. And if my cost per conversion is, like $20 a person, and they don't buy anything, then that's not worth my business money. And so that becomes difficult, right? But if you look at something, and if it's like, okay, I put money into this thing and I get exposure out of it, okay, that's great. Exposure's wonderful. But I didn't see like a huge uptick in any of my social media channels. I gained some followers, fairly consistently with everything else. And along those lines, that's great. Like, I love interacting with people, right? So the artist and the human being in me is excited about talking to people. The businessman in me is saying, like, not that I don't want to do that, and not that I don't value those conversations and those people, but are there more people and better connections that I could make at a different type of show, and that would be, a better thing. So either I can get, somebody who's going to spend way more. If I get somebody who spends a couple $100s on my work a year, and it costs me $50 to find them, like, that's worth it, right? But if it costs me, 10 cents to find somebody that's gonna do, $10, that's worth it. But if it costs me $20 to somebody who's not going to buy anything, or they spend $2 or $3, on something, that's a loss. So from a business standpoint, I have to look at that and say, that show doesn't seem to be the right show for my work, even though I did meet people and it was cool, and I enjoyed myself. It was a net loss, both financially and in the amount of money I could have made in the time that I spent doing that. So I mean, it was basically like 5 days away from my studio. That's a full week. I can make a decent amount of money, in a full week's worth of work. And so, you have to look at the opportunity cost, and the opportunity cost for me at that specific show was way too high.
Yeah. So, I mean, just as an kind of example based on what you're talking about there, when I got back, I picked up a logo design project that, I worked on it here or there, but if you compile the time together, maybe I spent 8 hours on it, mm-hmm. and that almost was more than what I pulled in at the convention. And that was in 8 hours, as opposed to not just the time I was there at the show, but like I said, this stuff is still sitting. I've already done a lot of work putting this stuff away, the prep, a lot of the products and things, which there's so many different factors. I still have all those products, so I can still turn them around. It's not like it's a loss, but a lot of that stuff, just getting everything ready and the time involved, there's just so much time. You said like a week. More, it's, I spent a lot of time getting all this stuff ready. And that's even with, I didn't change too much of my setup from last year. So most of that was already in place, but there was just all these little odds and ends. And like I said, I didn't even have time to promote the show, which I don't know. That could have made some, maybe some more people would have came out to see me if I did. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Victor. Victor did come out to the show, and I got to meet Victor. That was awesome. And I mentioned this on Art Kesters too, but yeah, so Victor actually showed me his artwork, and he does some really cool stuff. So that kind of stuff's cool. And like I said, I'm going to miss that, but I'm thinking it's kind of like, I'm kind of, because these shows are basically and this is the way they advertise these shows too. I did a whole survey and everything, and I don't know if they'll ever follow up with me, but I pretty much laid it all out as far as this is why I'm not returning and everything like that. And I think they're probably hurting, because I don't know a lot of people that are returning, but a lot of these shows do have a waiting list, so that's going to open it up for other people, and maybe they'll do better, or it'll give them a chance to kind of experience that. But I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, I guess I'll have to come back to that. I totally lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, but like we're saying here, I might not be going back to that specific show. I'm still interested in trying different shows, but I've been super interested in like a small press expo, or mm-hmm. the Library Association, throws some stuff, in Vegas, and I think once I have like a finished, I've been toying with the idea of self-publishing The Tongue Cut Sparrow, and doing like a Kickstarter on that. I'm kind of in this anthology Kickstarter, watching what's going on and trying to weigh, whether that's going to be, worth doing or not. And I think that Kickstarter is phenomenal, right? It is mm-hmm. doing super well. We funded $2,200, which was our ask, in 25 and a half hours. That was when it funded. And so almost a day. But then I also look at that and I think there are 28 creators, right?
Yeah.
And so mm-hmm. me as a lone wolf out there in the woods by myself, that term is a term of describing a situation of somebody who's pretty weak, right? A wolf without a pack, is not a strong or dangerous animal. They're just kind of, they usually don't survive. And so I'm trying to gauge all of this, like how many people would actually spend money on a children's book that follow my work and that type of thing. It's a whole different thing. I'd like to get that published, and if I have it published, I'd like to do like some library shows and do some start sending dummy books out to big publishers and and kind of try that route. But if I took that to like Salt Lake Comic-Con or something, or whatever they're calling it now, at Fan Expo or whatever, it doesn't have Superman in it, so nobody's gonna care, right? But if I take that to a place where people love books, not specific existing IP, and they're just looking for decent books, I think it could do really well. And so if you find the right audience, I think it could be really interesting.
Yeah, I kind of remember what I was going to say, and like everything's kind of leading. And I know they can't use Comic-Con because of legal reasons, but everyone's switching over, like you said, Fan Expo, Fan Fusion, whatever, because it is sort of this fan thing. And what I was saying about the marketing is all like, come see this celebrity, get your tickets, get your advance, whatever, for this celebrity. That's all I ever got. I got nothing about comics, nothing about anything else but what celebrities were going to be there. And I know that's a big thing for people. Obviously, that drives people in. I have no interest in that. To me, and this is just my opinion, but if like, say if a celebrity, somebody that I admire came down to the floor and was checking out my stuff, and I actually had an actual conversation with them, I think that's cool. But paying, I mean, it didn't used to be, you didn't have to used to go pay somebody, they would have maybe stuff for sale or whatever, but autographs didn't used to like cost money. And now there's a whole dealer thing where people flip the autographs and stuff like. If I happen upon some kind of interaction with somebody who happens to be a celebrity, that's fine. But I just don't. To me, paying somebody for an interaction, that's just not my thing. And again, that's my own personal thing, but it just doesn't interest me. But as far as just the fan experience, it's kind of like the way I look at it is, in some ways, well, this is changing. This is the way things are going. So, in some respects, it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. So while I'm not really interested, I'm not going to pay $200 to get an autograph from somebody. I've got a pretty cool Khan from the Wrath of Khan costume. Maybe next year I'll just dress in that and I'll just go and hang out there and get pictures with people that want a picture with Khan and just walk around and have fun that way, because that's an experience I've never had before. And maybe even go to some panels and things, because I don't get to do that kind of stuff. There's a whole other area upstairs that I don't get to check out, so maybe I'll just go as just a regular attendee or whatever. So
yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, I got a way back in the day, before I was into comic books in high school, and then I kind of fell away from that and everything else. I got a job where I was at San Diego Comic-Con before I knew that was a big deal, and they paid me to film some stuff down there for a company that I was working for that I'm not allowed to talk about publicly because of NDAs and things. But I was down there. I had a blast. I didn't even know there was an artist alley. Right, I had a blast. I got pictures with Lou Ferrigno. I got pictures with, and they were just standing there, and you just walk up to them, and and there weren't. It wasn't like this weird gatekeeping thing that seems to happen nowadays. But you know what that picture with Lou Ferrigno is worth to me? I don't know. I don't even know where it is. I didn't print it. It was on a digital camera. It's probably on some hard drive somewhere. It was great. I got to meet him. It's cool. I guess there's photographic evidence. It was before social media really was a thing. And so I didn't post it anywhere or anything. But I mean, I've met comic book creators, and that was a way big deal for me. I mean,
me too. But they didn't charge me for their autograph.
Right.
I think the only comic book creators that do that are Scott Snyder and Chris, or what's his name? Capullo? What's his name?
Greg Capullo.
Greg Capullo, yeah. Because they're so big. I guess they had a huge line, and I think they were charging. But, I just met Art Adams. I mean, I bought his stuff. Yeah. He signed it. In a way, I paid for it, but I'm buying the book. I mean, I'm not buying just an autograph. Right. So. Yeah,
and I mean, and that's the thing. I hung out with Ryan Otley at Salt Lake Comic-Con back when he used to go, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy. I mean, I've got his books up here. I don't know if they're on the screen right now, but I mean, he did one of the longest runs, of a single creator, in recent history, with the exception of like Eric Larson and stuff. But I mean, Invincible was phenomenal. That was life changing for me because that was as I was getting into things and learning about storytelling and get back. And so I got to hang out with this guy. People were just walking by him. They didn't even know who he was. And and he's one of the best in the business. He's drawn Spider-Man right now. I mean, he's up there with, he's up there with the big guys, and he's at the top of his game. And he doesn't go to that show anymore because it's not worth it to him. Like, but I mean, I hung out with him, and I wasn't like taking up his time. He was happy to hang out. One, because he's a cool dude, and two, because like I wasn't holding anybody up. I mean, while I was there, I was probably there for like 30 minutes. I bought a bunch of pages from him that I have up on the wall and stuff. There's like 3 or 4 people that came by and like talked to him and knew who he was. And then there was other people that were trying to tell people walking by, like, why are you walking by? Do you not know who this is? Or whatever. Yeah. And I've had a number of those type of experiences. And to me, that just says these guys are in the wrong show, Yeah. And so I don't know. I've heard, the Southwest the Northwest is a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a comic book culture and people understand who's who, up there and things. Who was it? Matthew Enstrom in the chat saying there's a small press expo in Ohio. It's the best convention he's ever done, And so I think there's these shows, and I think they'd be good. Finding them seems just super hard. You have to kind of hear word of mouth, because the big guys, that have all the TV stars and stuff, like I don't have a problem with actors and actresses, whatever, it's fine. But like, I don't really care. Like they didn't.
It's kind of weird that. Yeah, well, the actor that plays Hellboy is sitting there making $200 off of autographs, while the creator of Hellboy, there's really no line to meet Magnola and get a book signed and everything. Right. There might be a little bit of a line, but you know what I mean. It's kind of a weird thing, but
yeah.
So
I mean, whereas I would spend hundreds of dollars to spend some time with Magnola, just because the value to me as somebody who's trying to learn something, would be huge, right? Whereas what am I going to learn from the actor? I'm not going into acting. And so I don't know. And maybe that's just, maybe I'm not looking at it as a fan. I'm looking at it as, will I be better off because of this interaction? Like if I get an autograph from some shiny, happy person, that happens to be on TV or something, am I better off for that? I don't know. It might be fun or whatever, but like, I mean, I've learned stuff. Like I've sat down and talked to these comic creators, and just little things that they say like drastically alter the way that I do things. Because I came into this game late and I knew nothing. I didn't even know that people used brushes with ink. I knew nothing. I thought everybody did every stuff with what I called drafting pens at the time, because it's the only thing I there's no store near me, I didn't grow. And so the only interactions, or the only thing that I've ever had that has helped me learn anything has been on Twitter or meeting artists in person. And so like I go to a show like that, I would love to go, like you said, as a fan, and just talk to the artists and just enjoy, because I like all that stuff. But like going as an artist exhibiting when it's the wrong audience and people aren't there, like they're walking by the artist alley to get to where they actually want to go. I'm like, that's, I don't know. It almost feels like panhandling. I'm not sitting there, and I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to riff on this too much, but I did have a neighbor that was a carnival barker, and he was just driving everybody away with his.
I noticed that for the first time at Phoenix when I was there. There was this, and it wasn't close to me, but I usually, I hear about that, but I hadn't really seen it. And it looked like what it was people representing some fairly well-known comic book artists. Like one of them was one that I admire, was Michael Golden. But I don't think it was Michael Golden, but I think he had people out there that were trying to get people interested in it. And it was kind of that thing. Him and another guy that doesn't have a very good reputation at cons, but doing the whole carnival barker thing. Oh, come check this comic book. It's by world famous artist, this and that. And it kind of set wrong with me, but who knows? Maybe that's a thing they did. But they were kind of way up at the front, and I was back in Artist Alley. But I had never really seen that. Like, okay, yeah, that's kind of a turnoff. As much as I like Michael Golden's book, and again, it wasn't Michael Golden doing it, but I think they have dealers or people that kind of are there to deal that artwork, and they were kind of the ones doing it. So
yeah.
But
yeah, and this guy, like, I had people that would walk over, see my stuff, start looking through my stickers and postcards and posters, and he would grab them physically and be like, "Hey, come and look at my book." And I didn't even know why he was in Artist Alley, because he was a writer, which is fine, but he wasn't even a comic book writer. He was like a sci-fi. He wrote a novel, which is fine.
He was out there wrangling people, bringing them like in a different area.
Physically grabbed them and moved them over to his booth from
like,
my
I am
booth.
so careful, even like, especially if like there's a person that's looking at the person next to me's table, and sometimes their people kind of spill out over into yours,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I think maybe they're looking at mine, and then I'll notice though they're just kind of with this other person. I just kind of let them. I definitely don't want to try to pull somebody away from somebody else, but that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to ask him. I was like, "Hey, if they're like at my booth, can you not pull them into yours?"
Yeah.
I wanted to like invoice him. I started counting. This is how petty I am. I started counting all the people that he pulled away, and I wanted to send him an invoice for like $150 and just be like, I figure I lost about that amount of sales.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I don't know, and I'd rather be drawing. Scott in the chat says, I think truly unique artists and creators will be weeded out of the big fan cons, but I think we will land on our feet by having a renaissance in smaller comic book specific conventions.
Yeah.
And I
think
agree.
things are going to go back to basics. I think the sorry to interrupt you, Cory, but I just real quick. I think definitely these big celebrity cons, they will continue, but I think there's going to be a separation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I agree. I think there is going to be kind of a renaissance, and you already see it happening. I mean, there's kind of a saturation, I think, with we're reaching kind of a media saturation with specific titles and specific publishers, which is great. I love seeing those movies, and they're wonderful, and the TV shows are fun and whatever. But there's this groundswell of indie that's coming back, and has been happening, for 10 years. At least, and it's been awesome. There's been some phenomenal books. There are movies being made from those books that people don't even realize that they're based on comics. And I think I'm hearing this, different podcasts, different people that I'm talking to. You talked to several people that are kind of known at that show. It seems like this is kind of a common trend. It used to be that comics was a niche, right? And now comics is literally the idea generation machine for, like, I don't know what the percentage is, but a major percentage of what Hollywood is producing right now. But beyond that, beyond kind of that corporate side of things, of that churn, is you have all this other stuff that's phenomenal and it's really good, and it will find a voice. Because people refuse to just wallow in ignominy, and so there will be an outlet somewhere, and I think you just got to kind of watch for that. And I wonder, is it going to be, is it going to go back to basics where we're in the gym of a junior high again? I'm
fine with that,
and that might be a significantly better show, than being in the Salt Palace. Or something where it's this giant convention center and you've got 30,000 people there that don't care about you.
Yeah, I'm really digging just doing these in-store signings. It's fun. I have a good time just when I come out, and I make a decent amount of money there for just the day I spend there too. And I meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. So these smaller things, but again, just based on the work that I do, where it's more science kind of oriented. I think these kind of not humor, but these kind of like maker fairs, and I really, I got to bite the bullet and try one of these trade shows out. The only problem is the cost of entry of trade shows are like 4 or 5x what a comic convention table costs. But I think there's no one else going to be there. There's like no other competition, anyone else doing anything that I like. And plus, if I go to a science themed event like that, everyone there is probably going to dig what I do. It's going to be like the fan art for them,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you go to a science thing. I think you'd do well at, promotional product type stuff. I think you do well at like the New York Toy Fair. You go to like Vegas. They've got shows all the time. I mean, I wasn't the buyer, but I was working with the buyer for a company at one point in time, and I went to a show in Vegas, and it was all of the stuff that you see like impulse buys. It was an entire show in Vegas, an entire convention full of like stuff that would be at the counter of impulse buys. It was phenomenal, so interesting, and like the pins that you've got and the prints that you've got and the stickers and the shirts and stuff, like it would totally fit in there. But like there wasn't a comic book to be seen, and it wasn't an art show. But it would definitely. I mean, I could see. I mean, this stuff that you're making could easily. Selling in retail stores like all over the world. And you land one chain store, and you're set. And so it's a big investment, but the opportunity of return on that investment is pretty huge. I don't know what that's like as I attended those shows. I didn't exhibit at them, so I don't know what the ask is or the investment or anything along those lines. But I mean, I don't think any of your stuff would be out of place in any of those places.
Yeah, I don't know all the, I know like Toy Fair, I assume it's more, I don't know, just a little indie. I wouldn't really consider what I'm doing toys, but I don't know if that would work. But I know the licensing shows, I think in Vegas is free to attend. It might be cool just to check that out. I know I watched the Steven Silver video where he went to one just to kind of walk around, and that would be kind of cool just to check out. I don't know what it would cost to, bring your own stuff there or whatever. I know back when I was in children's entertainment, I exhibited a thing called NatP, which was basically where people go to buy and sell television shows. It was a pretty cool experience. I mean, that was one of those where there were, because the studios brought in, like the celebrities and stuff, but you didn't have to wait in line to talk to them or pay to get autographs. They're just kind of there to help promote the shows and stuff. So you see a lot of those people walking around, but basically just people there making deals, selling shows and everything. It was kind of split. There were 2 levels. I was on the either the top or bottom. I don't remember which one was the main level, but there was, the main level was all the big, it's kind of like San Diego where they just crazy displays and everything for all these new shows that are coming out. And then the other one is all the little indie guys. But the cool thing was down there, everyone had like these kind of cubicle type, modular, setups that you get. Everyone had the same, but we came in and I created this foam rock formation type thing. So ours totally stood out and everything down there. So that was kind of a cool thing. And we met some people and some contacts, and eventually we did get our show optioned. And, from there it didn't really go anywhere, but it's really hard to sell a TV show, but we got pretty far with it. So I'm kind of proud of what we did, but
yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know. I just keep thinking like, if I were to finish that animated short that I started working on last year, I mean, that's a whole different market. There's the festival circuit, there's, getting into animation anthologies, doing all that stuff. And, and there's just so many opportunities out there that I feel like if you just niche down into the one thing that you're aware of, and that's not working for you, you might lose heart and just say, oh, well, my stuff isn't meant for whatever. But I mean, I just think it's the wrong place. I don't know. Cause I keep thinking like, I see weird stuff out there. I know my stuff is weird, and it's like, it's out there. It's whatever qualifier you want to put on it. It doesn't really belong in those mainstream shows, but I think I've got to believe that there's a market out there for it, and there's got to be a show or a convention or a magazine or something, some sort of something where it fits into that thing, and I just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd rather be drawing. I assume it's Scott. It's either Scott or Dave. I'm pretty sure it's Scott. He says, "Hook up with NASA, Scott. I bet they have employee events." And yeah, I've sold to people that work at NASA. I've sold to more than a few rocket scientists and things like that. So yeah, that's definitely the crowd of people that dig my stuff. So it really is a matter of that. My biggest problem is I'm a fan of the whole mad scientist thing. For me comes from more of an angle of science fiction and me loving things like Frankenstein and that kind of thing. If you get into the hard science, I can't carry on a conversation with these people because it's all over my head. But as long as that's okay. But I don't really totally speak the language, so that there's sort of a roadblock there. But yeah, I need to find where all those people are. So yeah.
I'll tell you what though, my cousin is he is an engineer at NASA, and whenever I get stuck for a story idea, just call him up, and those people are so smart and so interesting, and most of them got into what they do because of the same thing. It's not like it's not like they woke up and they're like, I love algorithms so much that I'm going to get into. It's like they loved this TV show, or they loved reading this, and he was an avid reader. And I remember I had this story idea, and I don't want to give anything away too much, but I just said, hey, I want to bounce some ideas off of you about time. And it was one of the most fascinating discussions. He was talking about that through certain materials, light travels at different speeds. And so theoretically, if you could find a clear material that would slow light down, they call it slow glass. You could, in essence, leave it for 10 years overlooking a lake, and then you could put that window in your house, and it would basically be broadcasting that light of that scene, because it slowed down the light itself as it passed through, and then as it left, it would go back to normal speed because it was no longer traveling. And so anyway, I just look at and I have 3 stories that I want to do based on the idea that there are certain materials that can impede the progress of light that you can then take somewhere else. Anyway, and that was one phone call with this guy. So anyway, he's one of my favorite people to talk to. I need to talk to him more. But
the other good thing about that crowd is, unlike us comic book creators, that crowd typically has some disposable income. So yes, this is something I've been talking about for so long, but I really need to work on the marketing and that kind of thing towards that crowd, because I've got all the stuff, so yeah.
Well, cool. Well, great. Well, this has been a super active chat. I wish I could have gotten to more of the comments, but yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. I guess to wrap this up, I'll kind of echo what you said at the beginning. In no way should this be viewed as negative. I don't think this is a bad thing. I don't think any of us are. I'm definitely not saying like, oh, woe is me or anything, and neither are you. I just think this is a good exercise in the business of art. And some of my favorite artists, they talk about how very few artists deal in business. And if you look at Sean Gordon Murphy, he makes business decisions with his art, and he talks about why he's doing certain things, and he negotiates as if he's a businessman, not as if he's an artist. And the dude's a phenomenal artist, and he's a great writer. But it's an interesting thing, and I think it's a good process to go through to evaluate, am I at the show because I like the show, or I'm at the show because it's a really good business decision. Because if I just like it, hey, spend a few bucks and just enjoy the show. Like, it's always more entertaining to attend a show than it is to exhibit at a show. But if it's a good business decision, then it's an investment, and you have to look at that differently. And that's where you're looking at KPIs and ROI and things like that. And if you don't know what those terms mean, like, brush up on that stuff a little bit, because those things are important. If what you're trying to do is you're trying to monetize your art. If you're not trying to monetize your art, go to the shows that you want to go to, and it doesn't really matter as long as you can afford it.
And I would say, another thing is, I mean, I could probably go, like I said, I made somewhat of a profit this year. I could probably maybe go next year and make somewhat less of a profit. But you also have to also watch trends and see where things are trending. Right. Is it worth me to continue, investing my time in something that is just going to gradually drop off, or is that time better spent looking at something new that's on the upswing, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Well, thanks for having us on. Scott is suggesting that you rebrand NASA, which I'd be all about. I think you should definitely do that. If you want to find Scott Cirkland's stuff, go to circworks.com. All things science and science supplies for all the mad scientists out there. Plus, if you sign up for his email newsletter, you're going to get a bunch of stuff to help you make your own comics for free for the price of giving him your email. If you want to check out my stuff, you can go to corykerr.com. That's CoryKerr.com. And I will say this really quick, because I forgot to mention this. We are having a contest for the thing, and I'm slightly in the lead, with many people nipping at my heels. And so,
is it slightly? I thought you were.
No, Marshall's within a couple clicks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when we first launched the Kickstarter, everyone was saying that mine was far and away the most, and like now I'm kind of way in the middle somewhere. So, yeah. But I'm okay with that. But I still want to. Not because I necessarily need to win, but the more people that are out there promoting this stuff, the more people are going to get to join. So
yeah, and I'm the same way. I don't actually care if I win or not. I think it'd be fun, but it's like a fun little competitive motivation to kind of continue to promote the book. And so in that spirit, if you'd like to check out the Kickstarter and you haven't yet, let me just tell you a little bit about it. There are 28 indie comic creators who have written and drawn 4-page stories about mythological creatures and cryptids and all kinds of cool stuff. And there is every art style that you can imagine in there. There's fun stuff, there's creepy stuff, there's suspenseful stuff, there's action-packed stuff, there's funny stuff. It is an awesome book. One of the few books I think that you could actually say that the barrier to entry is effort and somebody who can stick with something rather than fame or a lot of other metrics that some anthologies go off of, because every single one of the creators has gone through the 100 Days Challenge. It's an awesome book, and it's really cool. And there are lower tiers where you can get digital things and stuff like that. There are higher tiers where you get the actual physical book and whatever. Anyway, if you want to do that, go to 100daysofmakingcomics.com/CoryK, CoryK, or / what is your / Scott? What's your?
It's Cirkland, but go to Cory.
Cirkland.
Yeah, I'll never catch up, so I'd rather you take the lead there.
Okay, yeah. So go to mine. You can go to Scott's as well, but go there, check it out, watch the video. A lot of the stuff that you've seen me working on behind the scenes over the last couple of weeks is what I was making is that video. And so if you're interested in even if you don't buy anything, go check out the video, because it's fun to see all of the creators. I think we got most everybody in there. Everybody who wanted to be on camera got in there, at least a little bit. And there's some cool animations, some stuff where I have like octopus hands and crab claws.
Yeah, some of those creators are in the chat too, by the way. So
yeah. So if you guys want to post your links in the chat as well, I think I have to approve them, but I'll approve them. So go there. I don't care whose link you click on or follow. You can go through Abe's link, which is Abiel. And there's probably going to be some others. And so Scott says they formed an alliance. So yeah, now we're getting real cutthroat. We're forming alliances. No, I still think you should go to Scott's if you want to. But okay, you guys are awesome. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you again on Wednesday. Josh is going to come back. He went to a show tonight, and so I'm sure he'll have some stuff to say about that and have more comic pages. And we will see you guys in a couple days. We're out.